I think I was the first one to really realize what was going on and just screamed, like, stop the bus, someone's getting stabbed, everybody get the hell off.
That was Garnet Caton. He was one of 37 passengers on the Greyhound bus heading from from Edmonton to Winnipeg. Last night, a man on the bus stabbed and then decapitated a fellow passenger. CTV's Murray Oliver has been on the scene all night. He joins us now from Winnipeg, and I'm just going to say right off the top, Murray, so you can speak freely about this and give us the facts as they are. Just warn people that this is obviously a very graphic story, and if the kids are near the TV, they may want to send them away for this. Tell us what happened.
Well, Seamus, thanks for giving that warning, because really it's an awful story, Here's what witnesses have told us. This bus was moving from Edmonton to Winnipeg. It was a late night, an overnight bus. It was traveling with 37 passengers and one driver, and they had reached just outside of Portageville Prairie, Manitoba, a little over an hour and a half from their destination, which was Winnipeg. There was a movie playing overhead. They told us it was Zorro, if you can imagine that. And at the back, there was a 20-year-old, 18 to 20-year-old young man who had headphones on, was sleeping with his head against the window. Sitting next to him was a man described as about 6 feet tall, very large, wearing sunglasses, although it's dark in the back of the bus in the middle of the night. It's about 10 o'clock at night. Still, he's wearing sunglasses. They were not together. They just happened to be seated together. Suddenly, in the middle of the trip, the fellow who's sitting in front of the guy who is asleep hears a sound, a terrible sound behind him. He turns around thinking he's going to see a fight, and what he sees is this very large man with his sunglasses. He has a knife that he described as a Rambo knife, basically a butcher knife, and he's stabbing the other man in the neck. Immediately, panic breaks out in the bus. The driver pulls the bus over to the side. Obviously, he has a lot of presence of mind to pull over carefully so that the bus doesn't roll on the gravel shoulder. People begin to flee towards the front of the bus. This fellow, he assembles some people together to try and go back and save this fellow who's being stabbed. And as they move to the back of the bus, the fellow who has been stabbing this other fellow in the neck finishes the job. He cuts off the head of the fellow who he's been stabbing. Then he takes the head and his butcher knife and attacks the people who are coming back to try and help. They run off the bus. They try to slam the door. This fellow manages to get the knife through the door, and he's jabbing at them with the knife. Everyone runs in all directions. The bus driver somehow disables the bus, so the fellow who is the perpetrator, the alleged murderer, he's trying to get the bus started to drive away, but the bus driver has managed to flick a kill switch. A truck driver stops, starts to hand out wrenches and crowbars, and they form a little sort of defense group in front of the door of the bus to prevent this fellow from coming off the bus and attacking them further. 3 or 4 big guys with these wrenches and everything make a little group, and they manage to keep this guy on the bus. Other people have run into the bushes. People are laying in the ditches. The scene, the description of the scene is so terrifying and so horrific. Personally, I can hardly imagine it. Finally, RCMP arrived after perhaps 10 minutes, surrounded the bus, and after a standoff lasting several hours, the man was arrested.
Murray, you hear a story like this, you simply do not know what to say. It is unbelievable. Thank you very much for bringing this to us, and we'll talk to you again later on in the show, but thank you for this. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.